It's a blowout. 8th inning, 10-3. Bases are loaded for Verlander, who waits on a 3-0 pitch. He swings, and it's a high fly ball. Deep center field. It is gone. Home run. And a huge bat flip to celebrate. All right, Ben, start the show already.
What's up, everybody, and welcome into another episode of Flippin Bats. We have a great one for you today. Baltimore Orioles AllStar center fielder Cedric Mullins is joining me. What an awesome story. He's about to join me here in a minute. I'm excited for you guys to hear it. He took the road less traveled to the big leagues, and it ended up working out just great. One of the most impressive things to me is that just this last year, he stopped switch hitting and ended up just going lefty-lefty. We're going to talk to him about that and so much more. So let's bring him in now, Cedric Mullins. Cedric, thank you so much for joining me, man.
Hey, thank you for having me, Ben. It's exciting to talk to you.
Of course. Hey, let's start from the beginning with you. As a little kid from North Carolina, how did you get into baseball? How did you fall in love with the game of baseball?
Yeah, so kind of how it all started. Just like you said, I was born in Greensboro, North Carolina. And then shortly after, I say by the time I was about a year old, we had moved to Snellville, Georgia, or at least somewhere in the area. And around the age of 4, I'd say 3 or 4, I got a plastic golf club set for Christmas. And instead of hitting it on the ground, like the great Tiger Woods, I was tossing it in the air and hitting it at 3 years old. And I still don't even know how I was doing that. Like, I don't know how I was functioning properly to be able to do that at 3. And so what happened after that, my dad was watching me through the window from the kitchen because we had a view to the backyard kitchen. And he called my mom over and he was like, "Hey, look at this." And I was like, still doing the same thing. So he ran to Walmart and grabbed one of those old Velcro ball sets where you just have the pad.
Mm-hmm.
And he took me outside again after I was done. And he was like, "I want to see something." And so he put it on and he just started throwing it at me. He was like, "I just want you to catch it." And somehow I was, kind of just putting my hand where it needed to be. And I was catching the ball. And at that time, you had to be 4 years old to sign up for T-ball. So I had to wait a whole year to be able to start. And that's when it started.
That's awesome. It all started with a set of golf clubs that you swung as a baseball. Do you golf to this day or just baseball?
I've hit the range a couple times. Top golf is pretty fun, but I have not done a full course at all.
So you didn't have the traditional, and I say traditional, but you ended up going to a junior college out of high school, went to Louisville, and then ended up at Campbell University. How did that process go for you? Were you not super heavily recruited out of high school, or did you always know you want to go there? How did that work?
Yeah, I definitely wasn't super recruited out of high school. We did have a number 1 draft pick in my class at that school, Lucas Sims, who I graduated with here. And so I was trying to ride his coattails a little bit, scout-wise, and just didn't work out. So at that time, I had been around a lot of Georgia scouts and felt like I needed a change of scenery at that point. So North Carolina was it. And Lewisburg got in contact with me because my high school team had played a tournament in Cary, North Carolina. It was a high school invitational. And that's when Lewisburg at first saw me because it was around their area. And we had been in contact and, they had the most interest in me at that time. And that's when I was like, "Hey, I'm a baseball player. I want to go out, play, be able to have a spot on the field and just show what I can do." And so they gave me that opportunity and did my 2 years there. And then transferred to Campbell University. And Campbell had saw me because Lewisburg played a tournament at Campbell.
Oh, wow.
And, so they were able to see me there for both those years, and then was able to secure a full ride at Campbell. So I was like, that's a pretty easy option then.
If ever there's a college, I feel like Lewisburg just pumps out the talent. I mean, I feel like at every big college you even go to, there's guys that have gone to Lewisburg and then ended up transferring. It's ridiculous the amount of talent. Did you play? Was there anybody on that team for the 2 years that you were there that ended up being a big leaguer?
No, so out of my class, no one ended up being a big leaguer. Recently, there was a teammate that just signed with the Giants. I think he was doing indie ball for a while, just kept grinding.
Oh, wow.
Finally getting the shot, so that's awesome for him. And but yeah, like you said, when I first heard of Lewisburg, of course, I'd never heard of Lewisburg. And then when I did my research, they were like a powerhouse junior college. And I was like, yo, this is cool. Like I go to a place that's competitive, regardless of it being a 2-year school. That's kind of what the goal was, being able to play in a competitive league.
Yeah. So you end up getting drafted by the Orioles, and then, you don't spend a ton of time in the minor leagues before you end up making it up to the big league roster in 2018. And I remember, so Adam Jones he was on this show, not too long ago, and
Okay.
he was the center fielder forever in Baltimore. And then you come up and he actually agreed to move to right field so that you could play center field. How cool was that to have that happen from him? And what are some things that you learned from a legend like Adam Jones?
Yeah, like that was really cool for him to do. For him to be patrolling center field for 10 years and then, letting a new face, be able to take over that spot. That was big of him in so many ways. It's kind of like it sucks because I didn't have that much time with him to be able to, really grab a lot of knowledge from him. But from that short time, he was trying to kind of groom me to be a big leaguer, and at the same time was trying to make me comfortable, playing my style and just being myself out there. And that's kind of what he was trying to ingrain in me. Like, hey, this is a grind. You're going every day, but at the same time, you got to be yourself. And that's before he ended up going off to, I want to say, Arizona.
Arizona, yeah.
Yeah, that's really what he ingrained in me.
That's awesome. So do you think coming up and being, you were kind of dubbed the new future of center field in Baltimore, and Adam Jones moved to right field for you? I mean, that's got to be tough. Was that hard on you to come up and have all of that pressure put on you at the time?
Yeah, 100%. Because coming up through the organization as like a top 5, top 10 prospect, there wasn't that much pressure put on me to perform being a 13th round pick.
Right.
Mid D1 school. There wasn't much expected of me. So I was just able to kind of do my own thing and, prove that I was more than what the numbers were saying. And as soon as I got called up, all that changed. Like the expectations of me taking over center, trying to keep up with what Jonesy had did over the past decade. Like
which is impossible to make it, it's impossible to come on the scene and do that.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like it felt like I was trying to make up for all he had done within a year. So it was, like you said, impossible. And putting that added pressure on me just obviously didn't help out. And, I was struggling, just couldn't find myself, and I had to go back down to piece things together.
Did he give you any advice once you came up? He moves to right field. You're the new guy. Did he give you any advice upon arrival there?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things was just trying to find a routine, like something that worked. At the same time, I was, a rookie, so I was staying out of the way of veterans. So I was showing up early, getting into the cage early, getting my workouts early, but at the same time trying to figure out what worked for me when the lights came on. So it was a lot, trying to get a cage routine down that made sense for what my swing was producing at the time, and trying to make the best of it. And but yeah, just trying to create consistency, throughout that short time with them. The tough part.
I really like to talk to people about this and pick their brains. In my opinion, baseball is the most mentally grueling sport there is, and it's every single day, and it can be a grind. And in 2018, you make your debut and you end up getting sent down twice. How did you handle that mentally? How hard on it? How hard on you was that, and how were you able to bounce back and not let that bog you down?
Yeah, that's after my first time being sent down. It was kind of like a moment of, you're all right, go down, toughen out the league, figure some things out, you'll be back up. The only issue is I didn't find that success when I got sent down, so
Right.
it just spiraled out of control, and then the COVID year hit. So it was a situation where I was like anxious 24/7 because I was like,
Right.
okay, I'd worked on my swing all off season, trying to better myself as a player, and now I can't show myself. Now I can't show what I've worked on and see not only for myself if it had worked out, but for everyone else as well. That we're making decisions, and like you said, just trying to mentally toughen that out was not easy because there are still guys, coming up through the organization that, are slowly knocking on the door. So it
Yeah.
was a situation where it was like, I have a very small window to establish myself. And even when I broke with the team in that COVID season, I was still, the fourth outfielder. So I knew my role
Right.
as a defensive replacement. And, I took that very seriously because I was like, the better, um, the better I do at this, I'll create more opportunities for myself to, see everyday action. And, slowly that's what happened.
So that COVID year, 2020, you break camp with the team. It's your first full season up there with the team. One, the COVID year throws a whole new wrinkle in things. Obviously, it's a crazy year, but also that year you were diagnosed with Crohn's disease, which just throws a whole nother thing into all of this. For those that don't know, can you explain a little bit about what Crohn's disease is?
Yeah, it's like inflammation in the lining of your intestines and bowel, and
Mhm.
it can cause a lot of discomfort, pain. It can really mess you up. So I ended up developing an infection um, near my colon, and it was diagnosed through a colonoscopy because I was that whole year I was dealing with uh, like urinary tract infections and things of that nature,
Oh
just
wow.
weird stuff that I
Yeah.
had never dealt with before. So was constantly getting medication and just trying to knock it out, but then it would knock it out and then it would come right back. So something
Oh,
was
jeez.
wrong to the point where I was like, okay, well, I need, a little deeper dive into what's
Right.
going on. I'd asked, I was like, well, can we wait till the season's over? Since we had known by that time that we were going to be playing, the 60 games, I was like, let's hold out.
Yeah.
And once that had ended, they told me what was going on. They recommended the surgery. That was my first surgery, first major surgery at least, and then that just created nerves. Like I didn't know what to expect,
Right.
how I was going to recover, and all that extra stuff. And coming into the next year, I didn't pick up a weight or a baseball or a bat until mid January.
Hmm.
So it was I had like a month
Jeez.
to prepare. So I was like, I'm going to do everything I can to be ready, and when I show up, I'm going to be as healthy as possible and tell the front office and Skip and all of them that like I'm ready to play. If I have anything that pops up, I'll be honest with you, but
Yeah.
I'm ready.
How did you? So not only were you dealing with a pandemic at that time, were you also in 2020 playing with a lot of like? Were you in pain or discomfort or whatever it was, dealing with what turned out to be Crohn's disease, like while you were playing?
Yeah, I think I was able to
Jeez.
avoid the worst part of uh, Crohn's during that time. The past couple of years, though, I had dealt with what I thought was food poisoning, and it was. It turned out it was episodes of my stomach just
Oh
attacking.
wow.
Yeah, so, but it would only last a few days, so that's why I thought that because I'd eat something, I was like, my body rejected it, and I would do it last a couple of days, then I'd rehydrate, get my body back, and then I'd be fine. But it like that wasn't the case. It was
Yeah.
Crohn's doing his thing. So
So then that next off season comes, which you just talked about. You find out what's going on with you. You don't pick up a bat. You do nothing until January. Now you ended up having the best year of your career. It was incredible. I really want to dive into this offseason. Aside from everything you found out and went through, Cedric, you stopped switch hitting in that offseason. That is mind-blowing. How did you come to that decision amidst all of that, everything you were going through, to say, you know what, I'm going to come back and I'm not going to switch hit anymore?
Yeah, it really was as simple as looking at the numbers. The background of my switch hitting, I didn't start switch hitting in games until my senior year of high school. So that was pretty late to begin with, but it was something that, attracted interest from scouts with schools and things of that nature. So I stuck with it because it helped me stand out a little bit more. And going into 2021, I was looking at, my big league numbers, minor league numbers, and switch hitting just wasn't holding its own weight. My right hand swing was being way overpowered by my left, and it was pretty obvious. So that's when I kind of had to sit down with the brass and said, hey, I trust my left-handed swing to be able to perform at the big league level, and my right-handed swing is just not going to cut it.
When was the last time you had faced a pitcher lefty-lefty? Was it since your senior year or your junior year of high school?
Yeah, it was that long ago. Yeah, so at least junior year of high school, that was the last time I had faced a lefty-lefty.
That is ridiculous. And I'm sure in the offseason when you were working to get ready for spring, you're obviously doing front toss and all that stuff lefty-lefty, but there's nothing like getting into the box and facing a pitcher left-handed for the first time and being like, oh boy, we're doing this. I can't imagine the first at bat you had back lefty-lefty. It had to be weird.
Yeah, so the decision for me was made pretty early, so I kind of dove into it as soon as the 2020 season ended. So my swing was feeling at its peak. So what I did was I was able to find a couple of guys that threw left-handed, like some high school kids who threw like 83, 85, and me and my agent set it up to face them. Like it was like, hey, let's see, how this goes. And I already knew that the surgery was scheduled for November, so I did it in October just to get a feel as early as possible.
Before you went into the surgery.
Yeah, before I went into the surgery. So I said, just to get an idea as early as possible what this is going to feel like. And during my recovery, I can focus on those at bats, at least have something. And I didn't feel too bad. So, of course, it was 85, and I knew at some point I was going to have to prepare for 95. I was like, just to get my feet wet with it. And when I had fully recovered, I did a lot of machine work. I wasn't going to find guys throwing, 95 live. So it was just a matter of cranking the machine up, creating different angles, and going from there.
That stuff is, I look back to when I was in spring training. Every once in a while, we'd have to, especially in live BP early in spring training, sometimes the right-handed hitters, the pitchers would have to work on their pitch outs. So they'd they'd pitch out with us in the box. And every once in a while, when we do that, we'd have to switch over to the left side of the box. And me standing in the left side of the box for the first time ever, seeing 95 come in is like, oh God, I couldn't do this even if I wanted to. So it's impressive, man, that you were able to do that and do it so well. So hats off to you for the work you put in to be able to do that.
Thank you.
So you end up that year, obviously going off, and it was an awesome year for you, and you end up an all-star. For the first time in your career, Cedric Mullins is a major league all-star. How cool was that? And was that something you had ever even dreamed of? Was that something that was on the table for you?
Yeah, honestly, that wasn't on my list of goals. It was, I think, in my thought process for the season, it was just kind of as a whole, like just where I wanted to try to see my numbers at the end of the year. And I kind of broken them down, month by month to try to get to that point. Oh man, it wasn't until like a solid month before the All-Star break was when the chatter started talking, and it was like, hey, you have a serious chance. And of course, when that happened, I was like, oh man, now I got to try to pick it up to make that possible. But I didn't have that pressure on myself. I was still focused on the goals I had laid out for myself for that year. And, that's when the magic started happening. And, I was picking up my numbers right at the right time and, was able to get the vote.
How cool was it walking into that locker room for the first time with all of the best players in the entire world? You get to walk into that locker room, and did you just kind of take a second to soak it all in what you were experiencing?
Oh yeah, yeah. I made it a point to make sure that I introduced myself to everybody. Made my rounds around the clubhouse, and even if they knew me, I was like, I feel like I should shake your hand regardless. Like this
Yeah.
is an awesome moment for me, and this might be your seventh All Star, but it's it was awesome to be able to meet all those guys and get to talk to them individually and just kind of get to know who they are as people, and it was just pretty cool.
Did you have any conversations or experiences, a conversation or an experience at that All-Star game that you will remember forever?
Oh man, it's 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 crazy trying to think back on all that had happened throughout those 3 days, and
Yeah.
I'd say one of the crazier moments was I was sitting on the field with Tim Anderson and a couple of other guys, and just having all the media out there during batting practice, cameras in your face. The stadium was packed full of people. I don't think I've ever been more nervous to take BP in my life. So I was like, wow, this is this is crazy to have a stadium full of people just during batting practice. I can only imagine the energy for the game.
Your first ever All-Star game, and first of many, might I add, there's many more coming, will forever be. Now, this was a cool one because it's the first time in history Shohei Ohtani was there and pitched and led off and participated in the home run derby. I mean, it was wild. To me, it seemed like Shohei and the media surrounding him, it almost seemed like he was a member of the Beatles. Like, how cool was it being around him when all that was happening?
No, that was awesome. Got to introduce myself to him, and he's very punctual, of course, and he was awesome to be around. And just watching what I perceived to be a grown man doing what a 12-year-old would do, like playing, doing everything, like
Yeah.
pitching, throwing 100. I looked at the gun and I was like, the dude really just hit like 100 miles an hour on his first pitch, and then goes up there to DH and hits a bullet to on the first pitch he sees. And like you said, participated in the home run derby, got off to a slow start, but picked it up really quick, took it to a third overtime, which I didn't even know how overtimes worked in home run derbies, but that was crazy in itself, and that was a great round to watch for sure.
So you end up that year going 30-30, first ever Oriole to do it, 30 home runs, 30 stolen bases, truly an incredible feat. At what point in the year did you realize, oh man, like I have a legitimate shot to do this? And how important was it for you to do it?
Yeah, I'd say right around that late July mark. I was in an interview and I had just hit 2020. So I hit the 2020 mark, and then they were asking me, they were like, hey, is a 30-30 season in the works for you? And I thought about it. I was like, oh, we have like 2 months left. Yeah, I'd say that's possible. So I was like, yeah, I see myself doing that. And, at that point, I was just like, I'm trying to continue to do exactly what I've been doing the whole year, just try not to change anything. And then I had gotten to that 20, I reached the 30 stolen bases and I had gotten to 29 homers. And that's when it really hit. I was like, oh,
how much
God.
time left did you have in the year?
Oh, I had like almost 20 games left.
Okay.
And I was like, oh man, I'm not gonna try to force it. And I ended up trying to force it because it was a moment where I was like, man, I'm in a hitter's count. Oh, I'm definitely gonna get something I can put straight over this wall right now. And I'd pop it straight up. So it was like, oh Jesus. And I think like 11 games had gone by without me hitting a home run. So I was like, oh, it's definitely building up now. The talk is happening.
Then it's creeping in your head.
It's creeping for sure. I said, I cannot be the one to come this close and not pull it off. And I remember walking in the cage, and our hitting instructor at that point was our hitting coach was Don Long, and who I give a lot of credit for that season too. Like, he was amazing with me all year, worked with me with whatever I needed, whatever I wanted, and he was a great mental coach as well. And I walked into the cage, and he was like, "So what's your plan today?" I was like, "Don, I'm gonna just hit a line drive up short. Like I'm sick of miss hitting balls." He was like, "I'd say that's a good approach." And we worked on it all that day. And sure enough, got into a situation where it's a two-man on base. Was trying to drive a run in, not trying to do too much, and that's exactly when it clicked. I tried to hit a line drive over short, kept my hands inside the ball on the slider, and took it dead center.
So there, you weren't. Were you ahead in the count at the time? It wasn't your typical what you had been doing for the last 10, 11 games. It was when you get a 3-1 count, you're like, all right, I'm gonna hit this ball out. And that's how it always happens. You're battling, you're trying to do what you need to do for the team, and then next thing you know, it gets done. And
I want to say I did get myself ahead in the count, which didn't mean it was a fastball count.
No.
The game's totally different now in that stage. But yeah, I had a feeling I was going to get something to drive in the gap, and was able to put the home run swing on it.
It always is mind blowing to me when I look back at last year when Miggy got his 500th homer, and you see those guys that they're going through that for a career, like one of the greatest feats of all time. And I watch Miggy go about his business, and he's just so calm and cool and collected. And it's those like milestones that I don't understand how he's not coming up sitting on 499 home runs, just absolutely freaking out. But Miggy doing what Miggy does. He goes oppo, hits a homer, probably was trying to hit a double in the right center gap, and it just clicks.
Yeah, like we get a chance to have really short conversations with Miggy. I think one thing to take away is that he doesn't give any at bats away. I think that's exactly how he was able to, put the career together that he has and continuing to, move forward with his milestones. Is he takes every at bat seriously, and if he, lines out, things of that nature, he's okay with it. He knows you didn't give the at bat away, and I think that's the thought process that I try to take into every at bat.
Yeah. So this year, coming into the season at Camden, they moved the left field wall way back. What was your initial thought when you heard that was happening? What was your initial thought there?
My initial thought was, I wonder what it's going to look like in person. Because when I was seeing the Twitter feeds of what the construction was looking like, it's kind of hard to tell how far it was. And then I finally saw it in person. And I was like, whoa, this is more drastic than I anticipated. And it showed. Like, we facing other teams, they come in, they're like, dude, that wall is really far back. And I was like, yeah, good luck. Like, trying to beat it. And we have a couple of guys that have beat it on our team so far, but it has not been an easy feat. It's got to be an absolute bomb.
Do you think the combination of the left field wall being moved back and whatever is going on with the baseballs this year, whatever it may be, do you think that has made it too difficult to hit a home run to left field at Camden?
Yeah, those factors, and like you said, whatever's going on with the ball, it's made it a lot harder. Like, we're looking at the numbers, and everything's analytics now, and so we'll look at our exit velo and our launch angle. If it seems ideal for a home run and it's not going over, like, we do question that. And we're trying to have success out there, and it's just hard hit ball after hard hit ball, and they're getting caught.
Cedric, I truly feel like the Orioles are close and that winning baseball is close in Baltimore. You have guys coming up, and unfortunately there was an injury this year, but Adley Rutschman is an absolute stud. Grayson Rodriguez, I think, is going to be really good. You're there in center field. The core of the team, I think, has so much potential to be great. How close are the Baltimore Orioles to being great, to being a playoff contender year in and year out?
Yeah, I honestly can say that I think we're closer than what most people think. And like you said, we have guys that are, right there at the cusp of making their debuts and making huge impacts for the team. And, I think the group that we have right now is, we all know that they're coming. So right now we're focused on trying to create that winning environment that they can come in and have that intensity about, and have the pride to go out there and play their butts off, and we're going for the win every single night. And so that's what, the group that we have right now is trying to solidify before those guys come up.
Yep. So, all right, I have some fun questions for you before we finish up here. And the first of those would be, who is the toughest pitcher that you have ever faced?
Toughest pitcher I've ever faced. There's a few on that list.
Name them all.
Nah, I can't let them know. I can't let them know. But I'd say one for sure was Chris Sale. And the thing is, I've had at bats versus him right-handed and now left-handed. So I was like, right-handed was hard enough. And then I step in the box and this man looks like he's throwing the ball from the dugout and just trying to keep my eye on it and not see it as a different pitch. Like I know one time he threw, a slider that looked just like a fastball out the hand. And I was like, it takes, I feel like I have to turn and break my neck just to try to create an angle to, see the pitch out of his hand. So he's probably one of the tougher ones I faced.
In terms of hitting lefty-lefty, I mean, he's got to be the hardest guy lefty-lefty to hit, right? I mean, he's throwing the ball from what looks like behind you. He's tall and lanky. He's moving all over the place. That has to be the toughest lefty-lefty at bat, I would think.
Yeah, I'd say so. And guys that kind of emulate what he does, just cross body, like you said, tall, coming down from a very high angle outside your body, and you're having to, keep your shoulder in and try to hit the ball the other way. Like that's just not easy.
Yeah. All right. So I'm from Virginia, grew up going to Camden Yards a lot. I think it's one of the nicest stadiums. I love it. But let's take Camden Yards out of the equation here. Other than Camden, what is your favorite stadium to go to play in?
I feel like I can only give the fair answer if I had been to all 30. We're playing in St. Louis today, and I hear that crowd is electric. The stadium's awesome. Out the ones that I've played at so far, oh man, one of my favorite ones was Seattle when I went there for the first time, and I really enjoyed that stadium. They had the retractable roof, which I thought was cool for, weather purposes. And
yeah,
I know more and more stadiums are starting to incorporate that for just to get the games in. And just me being there, it was around my debut time. So that one sticks out the most because it was one of my first travels on the road.
Okay. All right. A lot of players, by the way, pick the Seattle Stadium. T-Mobile, I think it is now. Everybody loves that place. Wait, I was watching the other day, and it's one of the stadiums, one of the few that I haven't been to. So this might be a dumb question, but there is a roof. But the other day I was watching, and everybody's wearing long sleeves, and you can see their breath. Like, is it not fully enclosed? I don't know.
No, it's not. It's not. Based on what I saw, it's like an umbrella. So there's still openings.
Interesting.
But just for the sake of rain, they're able to cover it up.
Okay. All right. Interesting. All right. Do you have a game that you have played in that sticks out as like the greatest game you have ever played in? Like for myself personally, back in college, I had a game where I hit 3 home runs in a game, drove in 7. So that's one that sticks out. Do you have one at any point in your career that sticks out? Like, oh my God, that was awesome.
Yeah, one that definitely was the most fun for me was I had a t-shirt night at Camden, and there was a lot of hype around. I was playing really well. The AllStar selection was also in the making at that point. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of excitement around my t-shirt night. The guys that wore the t-shirt out on the field, just everything was happening at the same time. And one of the ladies in our PR department came up. She was like, "Wow, wouldn't it be cool for you to hit a home run on your t-shirt night?" I was like, "Yeah, that would be cool. That'd be pretty awesome, actually." And we were facing Robbie Ray that day. And first at bat, was working the count, took a couple of good swings, and then I got him on a fastball. I'm gonna say it was a 3-2 count, and took it for a home run. First at bat. So I was like, "Oh, this day's already made." And the energy of the crowd that night, and later on in the game, I ended up putting a second ball over for a 3-run shot to kind of extend the lead. That was my first standing ovation. So they were chanting my name. Fans were chanting my name. It was awesome. I didn't really know what was going on at the time. They were like, yeah, like go out there, tip the cap. Oh, okay. So I ran up, tipped my helmet to everybody, and that was just an amazing experience.
All on T-shirt night. That's so sick.
All on T-shirt night.
All right. If Cedric Mullins wasn't a baseball player, what would you be?
So my best subject in school was math, surprisingly. And I was actually so good at it. I'd taken calculus my senior year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
And
jeez,
I don't know what jobs correlate to so much math, but it probably would have been something along those lines, but maybe some form of engineering, maybe consulting, something along those lines where I'd be able to use my math brain and get to work.
All right, I love that. All right, if you could take BP, if you could put together the ultimate BP group, you and 4 others, all time, it can be some of the greatest of all time, it could be guys you think are funny, guys that you just like. What is the ultimate BP group that you would put together?
So how many people we're talking?
4 others. Let's go with 4 others.
Okay, 4 others. All right. So besides myself, Tony Gwynn, Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah, have to.
Ricky Henderson, and someone who I think is funny. I feel like Jose Canseco was funny. So I throw him in there. I don't know why, but he gives me off vibes that he's just hilarious.
Cedric Mullins, Tony Gwynn, Ken Griffey Jr., Ricky Henderson, and Jose Canseco.
Yeah. And then I get to see him drop absolute bombs on top of that.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great group. That's fantastic. All right, last one for you, and this one's a little, this one's a little more serious. Your journey wasn't the easy route, Cedric. You weren't a top draft pick. You didn't go to a big school. It wasn't the traditional route. If you could give a piece of advice to younger baseball players, what would it be?
So one piece of advice that stuck with me when I was basically growing up, going through school, was that, and being a Major League Baseball player was my dream. And I was told that there are a million ways, a million routes to become a big leaguer. And when you hear my story, that definitely holds true, because it's just not traditional. Like, not out of high school, didn't go to a major D1, went to a junior college, just took the road less traveled, I guess. And to still be in the situation, it's a blessing. And I know that I put in a lot of work, so the perseverance and just the dedication I had towards the game definitely helped out. But just knowing that there is a million routes to get to the same point, would be something I tell a younger guy, just because everyone wants to be the main guy. It's just sometimes it takes a little longer.
That's awesome. Well, Cedric, thank you so much for joining me, my friend. Keep killing it. Good luck the rest of the way. You're always welcome back on here. You're forever a Flippin Bats pod friend, and I appreciate you, man. You have a big fan in me, so thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, yeah, man, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Man, that was awesome, and I just wanted to thank, again, Cedric Mullins for joining me. What a great dude, a great player, and it was cool hearing his story about how he really did take that road less traveled and turned it into an all-star big league career. Absolutely incredible. I am a huge fan of his. I hope all of you are as well. Thank you all for listening. This has been another episode of Flippin Bats. Make sure you're subscribed. Follow the episode wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify. Just hit that subscribe button. Rate it 5 stars if you want. Also, social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and every episode you can watch the video on YouTube at Flippin Bats Pod for all of those socials. Thank you all for listening. I will see you tomorrow. Live episode of Flippin Bats on Thursday. Until next time, peace.